Hi, welcome to Sip and Say. I am True, and it's just me. So I know it's been such a long time. I don't even remember the last time I was on here or the last topic of discussion, but I have some things to talk about. I actually have two things that I want to talk about, but I'm going to make them two separate videos. The first thing I want to talk about and share is that I recently took a solo trip to New York City. Solo, yes, me by myself. Let me show you my shirt. Black and bougie. I made it myself. Anyway, so yeah, I did. I had been going through seasonal blues. That's what I'll call it. And it had been just lingering. And I just, am doing things now to feel better about myself, to feel better about life, to feel better about things, and just to live right. Um, Seasonal blues is something that I have dealt with over the years, but they had never lasted as long as they did this year. So I decided I'm going on a trip. I put it out there. I asked a few people if they wanted to go. No one wanted to go. So I booked the trip for myself. And oh my goodness, it's getting closer and closer to time for the trip. And I'm in my head like, oh my God, New York City by myself. I'm not sure about that. I should cancel this trip. And I thought about canceling the trip so many times, so many times. I'm like, I went online. I'm like, I'm just going to cancel. I'm just not going to go. And so I had booked one room at first, which I changed it because of a certain reason. I had a reason to change the room. And so I changed from one hotel to a different hotel. So the first room, of course, I could cancel because I can get it refunded. But once I changed it to the second hotel, I couldn't get a refund. If I canceled, I would have just lost my money. And even then, and even still, I thought about canceling, but I thought I don't want to lose my money. It wasn't a portion of it that they would take. It wasn't a day of it that they would take. They were going to take all of my money, and they weren't going to let me use it at any other later time or anything. So I decided I'm going to go. And I'm thinking to myself, well, I'm from Chicago. Now, New York can't be that different than Chicago. Like, if I can move about here, I should be able to move about there, right? And so I decided I'm going to do it. I'm going to New York. And so I did. I stayed at a hotel. I was right near Central Park, like 2 minutes from Central Park. I can walk up the street to Central Park. The Trump Towers was right around the corner, probably 2 to 3 minute walk. I was right by the subway. That was probably about a 4 minute walk. Like, I was by everything. A lot of things I could do and places I can go, all within walking distance. And whatever wasn't in walking distance, I took the subway. I took the New York subway by myself. And I wasn't even scared. That's not even something that I do in Chicago. I do not take the subway in Chicago. And that's crazy. Like, I don't know how to use the subway in Chicago, but I guess I can learn. Of course, I can learn. If I went to New York and used the subway there, I can definitely use it here in Chicago. So to me, I grew up in Chicago, born and raised on the west side of Chicago. I currently live on the south side. Never thought that that would be the thing, but I'm here. Um, I took the bus as a kid. Mainly, it was the number 20 or the 126, which the 20 is the Madison bus, 126 is the Jackson bus. Now, that was basically it, a straight shot to and from where I needed to go, right? I left Chicago at a young age, came back home 10 years ago, the end of this month. Uh, and I took the blue line a couple of times, but guess to where? Only to O'Hare Airport. So I knew how to get the blue line to O'Hare Airport and back. Okay. And I had to have someone show me how to do that, or someone did show me how to do that. So, yeah. To me, well, first of all, let me just say that I enjoyed my solo trip in New York. I really did. Uh, I really enjoyed it. As much as I could, it being a solo trip, I didn't go out to explore the nightlife because I was by myself and I was not that adventurous. But I will definitely be going back. Hopefully with friends or a friend, or if I have to go back by myself again, I'll go back by myself again, and it will even be more better because I've already explored it a bit, right? So I took the subway everywhere. I did not pay Uber or Lyft or a taxi a dime while I was in New York. And I felt safe and comfortable doing so, but I kept mixing something up. This is Sip and Say, and I do have my sip here. This is my Joy to the World cup, and I made myself a Patron daiquiri. I put it in my Joy to the World cup because the world needs joy, and it's all seasons. Every season is a season of joy, right? Or it should be. And I also have food because I'm hungry. I just got back from the nail shop. Pardon me. You probably hear me chewing anyway, so I'm hungry. Excuse me. Okay, so I have a friend here in Chicago who knows people in New York, or has a friend in New York who she connected me to. And so we just communicated via email, and I talked to her friend a time or two over the phone. And she told me how to get to my hotel from the airport using the subway. And I did it, and with my luggage. um, and she just told me pretty much like, and I also joined a couple of groups on social media on Facebook about visitors coming to New York. I forgot the name of the groups, but I can tell you. Like what to do in New York, I think is one of the names, and then the other name I don't remember. Let me just make sure that's it. What to do in New York. So I think what I was going to say is, to me, in my opinion, New York is like Chicago, but it's just a whole different vibe. It's just a whole different vibe. And also, to me, in my opinion, sorry, I still have food in my mouth, it's a lot more crowded. Like things are just stacked on top of each other, right? So, Times Square, New York's Times Square, to me, is downtown Chicago. We don't call it Times Square here, of course. We say downtown Chicago or the Mag Mile or whatever, right? So, Times Square to me is New York's downtown Chicago. But it's so much more crowded there to me. As I'm walking through New York on I'm walking, I took a walking tour. I took a 2 hour walking tour in New York one day, and I took a 6 hour bus tour another day during my stay there because I wanted to explore more, and you know, those were some good ways to do it. I still didn't see as much as I wanted to those ways, but I'll get into it. So I say it's more crowded because, well, first thing I noticed is, oh my God, the buildings are so tall in New York. So tall. I thought it's like all the architects, all the builders in New York were having a contest to see who could build the tallest building because they were all so tall. And then on top of them all being so tall, they're just like crammed all up on each other. They're just like on top of each other. Like it's just so many. And New York still have lots of projects. Like back in the day, Chicago had projects. I don't know if we do we still have projects. They're probably called high rises now. But projects, it's the PJs, right? Um, so yeah. On the first day there, when I arrived, I had booked a tour of the Apollo Theater. Excuse me. And I will include pictures of my trips at the end. But the first day there, I had booked a tour of the Apollo Theater. It was a small fee, not expensive at all. So I got to the airport, got my luggage. I just checked my luggage because I didn't want to be bothered with carrying on and this and that. And I just wasn't going to be in a hurry. I wanted to explore and take my time. And so that's what I did. So anyway, I got my luggage. I went downstairs to where you go to get, public transportation, Uber, Lyft, all this and that, taxis. And downstairs in the airport there's a machine where you can buy your bus card. So I bought a bus card for a week. It was like $30 or $33 or something like that. Unlimited rides for the week. Even though I wasn't going to be there a week, I was only there 4 days. But I figured at the end of my trip, once I got back to the airport, I could bless someone else with the card. And they can use it for the remainder of the time. hmm Anyway, I got the bus pass. I talked to one of the airport workers, tell her what buses I needed because I took the bus from the airport. I took one bus and then the subway, the L train, is which is what we call it in Chicago, the L. So she told me what bus to get on and how to do it. So they have these I don't remember what they're called, these buses, right? So I got my bus card, and then it's a machine where you stick the card in before you get on the bus, and it gives you a receipt, and the receipt is just yours. So in Chicago, we don't have that unless it's something new. You pay on the bus. But I paid for the card. I had it, and you stick the card in, it checks, registers, and whatever. You get your card, put it in your pocket, go sit down. But in New York on this bus, I didn't do anything on the bus. Got the card, then I had to stick it in this machine to get the receipt. And they said it's just because maybe the police might do random stops and you have to show the receipt that you paid. The bus driver does not handle any form of payment on the bus. Okay. So I did that, and then I know where the friend told me where to get off the bus at, where to get the subway at, blah blah blah. And so I'm riding the bus. I'm talking to my auntie while I'm riding the bus, and I told my auntie, okay, so let me get off this phone. Let me just ask this bus driver a question. I don't want to miss my stop. Blah blah. Whoa, whoa. So I did that, and she let me know what was up. It got to the L, still use my same bus pass to pay for, the L, whatever, whatever. So I get off, go to the bus. On my way to the hotel, I passed the Apollo Theater. So awesome because now I know how to get back here. So I get do that. I stopped into a Krispy Kreme, got me some donuts because I was hungry. I hadn't eaten before I left. I had an early flight. I arrived there early. There. So I go in, I check in. I arrived so early in the morning. I was like, oh my goodness. I hope they let me check in early. I hope my room is ready. Or if it wasn't ready, I would have just paid them to hold my bags. Because I think they charge like $2 per bag to hold your bag or whatever. But luckily for me, my room was ready at like 10, 11 in the morning. And check in wasn't until 3. So I think I by 10 I was there. So they allowed me to check in, no additional charge for that. So I went and checked in and I went right back out. I wanted to explore and I wanted to make the best of my day. That's why I wanted to get there early so I can have all day, or however many days I was there. I wanted to explore the full day. So I got up early each day and whatever. Okay, so let me just fast forward. I don't need to give too many of the little details. So I go back out. Um, some things that I had planned to do on my trip in New York was to eat some New York pizza because you know there's always this thing about who has the best pizza, Chicago or New York. So I wanted to eat pizza. I wanted to eat cheesecake. Of course, I wanted to go to Times Square. And from being in the group, I wanted to have a sit down dinner somewhere, which I did. I wanted to eat off the food truck because, you know, New York is infamous for their food trucks. I rode the subway. I did Times Square. The sit down dinner I did one night there was at the Sugar Bar, which is Ashford and Simpson's restaurant, and I loved it. The ambiance was good, the server, everything was good. They had a DJ playing music. He was jamming, honey. Um, I went to a museum. Like I said, I did a 2 hour walking tour. We started at Bryant Park, which was a beautiful park. Um, I just want to go back. I'm going to go back. So I had the pizza. The pizza was good. I had like buffalo chicken pizza. It was good. And I'm not the biggest pizza fan, so if it's better than Chicago's, I ain't gonna say all that. Like, I just think pizza is pizza. Like, I think chicken is chicken. Like, you got Harold's or Uncle Remus. It's just chicken. um, what else did I do? So I went to the Rockefeller Center. Uh, oh my goodness. Radio City Music Hall. Um, what was the hotel in not Wakanda, Zamunda. What is the hotel they stayed in? Coming to America, that movie, the big fancy hotel when the dad and them came from Africa. Um, anyway, I'm going to show some pictures. And I don't want to talk too much because this is getting long, long, long. And, you know, going to add some pictures just to show you. So let me just tell you, the walking tour I really enjoyed. It was a 2 hour walking tour, and it was like just providing information about certain locations throughout the tour. We had a tour guide, of course. The tour was free, or it should have been, but I paid $3 for some processing fee online because I booked it online. It says that $3 was an option. I didn't see where I couldn't, but it's just $3. So I paid the $3. And then at the end of the tour, you can tip the tour guide. Of course, why not? 2 hours. He gave you 2 hours of his time and he provided you with some really, really good information. We went to a Grand Central Station, Rockefeller Center, Radio City Music Hall. Oh, I got to see where the ball drops for New Year's Eve. They, yeah, I'm going to show you some pictures. I'll show it to you. That was cool. And he was telling us about that, where you have to be there at 11 in the morning. And you know, the ball drop isn't until midnight. And you are not allowed to leave. If you leave, you cannot get back in. How are you going to be there from 11 a.m. until midnight or past midnight? How do you get food? How do you use the restroom? Are you standing there this whole time? It's cold outside. Baby, I'll put it up on my TV because it ain't that serious. Not for me. But I guess it's an experience, right? But it's one I'll pass on. And that's my birthday, New Year's Eve. And I'm not trying to be out in the cold like that. From 11 a.m. until after the ball drops, no thank you. What else? I'm trying to think of something real quick that he did. Anyway, I'll tell you this. I enjoyed the walking tour more than I enjoyed the 2 hour walking tour. I enjoyed that more than I enjoyed this 6 hour bus tour. The It just didn't provide enough for me. Maybe it was a tour guide. I didn't like her. I can't say I didn't like her because I don't know her. I just didn't like her guidance of the tour. I just didn't. And yeah. So the highlights of the bus tour. Well, we went to Brooklyn, we went to the Bronx, did a little hoop around Manhattan, which is where I stayed. I stayed Upper West Side in Manhattan. So Brooklyn, Bronx, Manhattan. Um, so the highlights of that was we got to see a mural, Mural, because I may not be pronouncing it right, mural of Big Pun. Rest in peace. But okay. And then we saw a mural, mural of. Do I still have that here? I was just trying to see if I had the tour info. Um, we saw a mural of. Oh my goodness, I cannot even think of his name. He was a black kid that was killed by the police in New York, mistaken identity outside his apartment building at like, I forgot, early a.m. He was outside of his apartment building out smoking a cigarette. Police rolled up on him and shot him. I forgot how many times, but a lot of times. I'll put the info down there and, you know, yeah, I'll put the info there so you'll know who I'm speaking of. But when I put the info there, you might remember it. You might recall that story. And the police ended up getting off. We went to the Yankee Stadium. Um, I forgot some museum. And they dropped us off down like we went through Tribeca. And they dropped us off in Chinatown, and from Chinatown, I had to find my way back to my hotel by myself on my own on the subway, and I did. It wasn't a big deal. I did. Their subway system was pretty easy to navigate. Um, and I really felt comfortable and safe because I think I felt more comfortable and safe using their subway system than I would here in my own hometown of Chicago because there was presence of transit workers that walked the platforms, and then there were also police presence at on many of the platforms. And yeah, I felt safe. And of course, there were some entertainment there. You had people singing. Um, did I see anybody dancing? I don't remember like that. I seen people singing, playing the guitars. There was a choir out there. People selling stuff. Yeah. Anyway, I enjoyed my solo trip to New York. And let me just be one to encourage you to live your life. If you want to go on a trip, because you know how it is, you make a plan and you got 20 people. Yeah, let's do this. We're going to do this. And then the closer and closer it gets to the time for the trip, the people start falling off. So don't be afraid to take yourself on a trip and explore your life and live your life because that's what I'm trying to do. Actually, I'm about ready to book another solo trip. I already know where I want to go. I already know what I want to do. I already know what hotel I want to stay in. I have a tours guides and services to take me to and from these tours from the hotel. So, um, I might ask someone to go if they want to go, but you know, I might. But anyway, enjoy these pictures of my solo trip to New York. Thanks for watching Sip and Say, and until next time. Be good to yourself. Spread joy to the world.